Hey there, it's Seb Frey here with yet another exciting episode of Seb Frey TV. And today I want to talk about preemptive offers. And there's actually two kinds of preemptive offers that I'm going to be talking about today. The first kind is when you hear there's a property coming up for sale. It's not actually on the market yet, but you know it's coming and you want to make an offer to the seller before it ever even hits the market. And the second kind of preemptive offer is actually much more common. It's when a property has already become listed, it's on the market for sale, but the seller says they're going to wait until a certain day before they will review offers, and you'll have to wait until that time to have them look at your offer. So here's the thing that all buyers need to understand, and that is that most sellers, they want the very most amount of money they can possibly get for their homes. And I'm talking like 98% of sellers. And I hear this all the time. Oh yeah, I know somebody, my best friend, she wrote a real great letter and the seller took $50,000 less for her offer than from some other offer. Yeah, that does happen. It does happen like maybe 2% of the time, but in the overwhelming majority of cases, sellers care most about getting the very most amount of money for their property, right? If you were a seller, you would probably say the same thing, I'm guessing, if the shoe was on the other foot, right? So now let's go to our first example where there's a property that's coming on the market. Maybe you heard from the listing agent, or maybe you heard from a neighbor that the property was going to come on the market and you want to buy it before it hits the market because you really like that house. Well, here's the thing. Bearing in mind that the seller wants to get the most money they possibly can for the property, the seller, when asked what the price is going to be, and it's pre-marketing, right? It's actually not been on the market. No price has formally been set. What is the seller going to tell that buyer? Are they going to tell them a low price or a high price? Here's the thing. There's only one way for the seller to know they're getting the absolute highest price that the market will bear, and that is by putting it on the open market, right? So by doing that, they'll open the property up to all comers, not just the one buyer, not just you who wants to buy the property. No, they'll open it up to thousands of potential buyers, and then they'll see what's going to happen. But maybe they'll sell it to you, but what are they going to do? Are they going to say well, I'm going to give you a deal? Probably not, because sellers don't want to give buyers deals. What they're going to say is they're going to think, what's the most money I could possibly get for this property? What's the most anybody would ever pay for it? And then they'll tell you that price, or that price plus a little bit, to leave room for negotiation with you. And it's just natural. You don't got to hate on the seller for doing that. But they are not here to give you a deal. They're here to protect their investment, their blood, sweat, and tears, the equity that they have built up on the property over the years that they've worked very hard for. They don't just want to give that away to a stranger. Usually. So just understand that if you see there's a property coming up for sale, not yet hitting the market, just understand that maybe you can get a little bit of a deal, but the greater risk is that you'll actually end up paying more than you would otherwise if it were on the open market, because the seller is probably going to insist on a fairly high price to take it off the market at that point. All right, so what's actually much more common is that the property is actually already listed, but in the private remarks, which the realtors see, it will say, hey, we are waiting, a week or 10 days or whatever to review offers. Now, it used to be back in the good old days that an agent would write, we will not be reviewing offers before this date, right? But what's happened now is that agents have started giving themselves wiggle room, and they're saying we're going to review offers on this day, but the seller reserves the right to accept a preemptive offer. Or they'll say seller prefers to review offers on this date, right? So they're giving themselves a little wiggle room to say well, maybe if some awesome offer came in, they would review it before the posted offer review date. So that's the thing is they may take a preemptive offer before the offer review date, but guess what? They're not going to take a low offer before the offer review date, and they're probably not even going to take a full price offer before the offer review date. If you want to get that property under contract before they start accepting offers from the general public on that specific date and time that they've said, you're going to have to pay a premium. Now, the good news is that premium is probably not as high this year in 2020 as it was in 2017. In 2017, you might have had to pay 10% over asking price. These days, it's really going to depend on a case-by-case basis, how much the asking price is, what the market is doing right now, how many buyers are out there. It's really going to depend, but you got to understand you are going to need to offer probably in almost all cases more than the seller is asking for, and probably a substantial amount more than the seller is asking for in order to get them to take your offer ahead of time. So what am I trying to tell you here? I'm trying to tell you that a preemptive offer, there's not really a great chance that you're going to get a deal that way, right? You maybe have a better chance of actually getting the property, but you're probably going to have to pay a premium. If that house is your house, you don't want anybody to get it, you go ahead, you make that preemptive offer, but you got to understand, you're probably not going to get it cheap. You may end up paying more than you would otherwise if you waited until the sellers were taking offers from all comers, because it's a very funny market now. There have been multiple times over the last year or so where I've been in situations where as a listing agent, I expected multiple offers and a whole bunch of them, but I only got like one or two. And then there's been cases where as a buyer's agent, I was told by the listing agent, oh yeah, we're going to have 20 offers. And in fact, there were only 3 or 4. A lot of times agents and sellers are planning these big parties and they're expecting lots of buyers and lots of offers to come, and only a couple of people show up. It's kind of embarrassing, but just be aware that the seller might not be getting what they're expecting to get before they actually start reviewing offers. And so your best bet for getting a good price on that property in most cases is going to be to wait until they actually are taking offers from all comers. Just understand that you have a less chance of getting the property. So you might save money, but your chances of getting it are actually lower. And if you don't care if it's that particular house, maybe one just like it, then that's okay, right? That's fine. Unfortunately for this real estate game here, there are very few guarantees. It's very fluid, and so much is dynamic and negotiable, right? Like, it's really hard to have a sure thing until escrow is actually closed. It's one of the many joys of my life. All right, that is it for this episode of Seb Frey TV. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hey, do me a favor, give me a like, a thumbs up, give me a star, give me a share, give me a retweet, anything. A comment would be lovely. I would love a comment on YouTube. That'd be super awesome. And share it with anybody that you know who is in the real estate market and thinking about maybe buying or selling some real estate here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. I would surely appreciate it. And, if you get a wild hair, you could actually subscribe to my channel on YouTube. That would be awesome. It's Seb Frey TV. Just Google it. It'll come right up, and go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. I would be stoked on that. All right, that is it for this episode of Seb Frey TV. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, I will have another episode up again before too long.